So I've noticed that every time we tend to talk about these highly creative and highly intelligent people, we tend to put them on a pedestal, right? We tend to think of them as these superhumans with these super abilities that are beyond the reach of us normal people. But even since I was a kid, I have been obsessed with the human element to these geniuses. I've always found it amazing to hear the story of Einstein failing math when he was a kid, because to me that provided a human element to these seemingly superhuman people. So today I would like to welcome you guys to the first of many videos on Nietzsche, where I try to explore his life and find a connection between his life experiences, his personal development, and his theories. Hi, this is Bipin and welcome to A Word Within, where I try to answer the fundamental questions in life with the help of readings, reflections, art, and affirmations. And honestly, anything else that helps me understand this world just a little bit better, right? So, today on this video, I would like to welcome you guys to the first of many videos on my favorite philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche. On this series, we're gonna try to explore his life and understand how his intrinsic and external world has affected his philosophy, how the change in both his internal and external world has influenced the change in the way he sees the world. And I got the idea for this video after I made a general video on Nietzsche last week, which is gonna be linked somewhere over here. But on this video, we'll start at the beginning from his birth and try to see how far we can go and find some form of influence in his work. So, before we begin talking about Nietzsche, it's important to know what was happening in Europe socially and intellectually before his arrival, right? Napoleon Bonaparte had just ripped through Europe and destroyed pretty much all social structures. Monarchies were destroyed, idea of imperialism, and all of them were being questioned all over Europe. There was pretty much no social structure or hierarchy left in Europe. So in a way, it was chaos. On the other hand, Immanuel Kant had also just had a massive impact on Europe intellectually. He had gone ahead and destroyed all of what we know in intellectualism. He had questioned reality itself. He had questioned the truthfulness of truth itself. So, in a certain way, intellectually, Europe was in shambles as well. So, when Nietzsche was born, both socially and intellectually, Europe was in a massive disarray. There was no real foundational concept that all of Europe believed in, both socially and intellectually. Everything was being questioned, and that was the time that Nietzsche was born, and he absolutely loved it. Friedrich Nietzsche was born in Prussia in 1844 to a middle-class family of sorts. He had pretty good education though. He went to a all-boys school, then to a private school. But Nietzsche was never really brilliant in school. He showed some form of brilliance in language arts and history, but not really in the sciences and mathematics. However, his interest in language arts really paid off. When he started university in Leipzig University in 1865, he took philology, and he was very, very interested and intelligent in his study of philology, to a point where his first paper, his professor asked him if he could publish it in a leading philology journal of that time. And philology was a big deal at this period because it was, a few years, maybe a century after the Renaissance, so the vast unearthing of Roman and Greek writings, plays, music, and all their brilliance had just happened. So there was a massive interest in the study of languages, especially the languages of that Greek and Roman time, right? So when he went to college, he published that first paper and subsequently published many papers throughout his college years. And after he graduated, he actually received an honorary doctorate from Leipzig University with the help of his professor, so that he could start teaching at the University of Basel as the professor of philosophy. And surprisingly, Nietzsche is to this day the youngest tenured professor of classical studies to this day. So that's kind of cool, right? So his language interest really took him far in life, and after that though, after he got the position at University of Basel, he started losing his interest in language alone, because now he was interested a lot more in philosophy, in societies and the development of knowledge and ideas, moralities, religion, and all of these things that played around in his society, right? Interesting fact, before Nietzsche moved to the University of Basel, he renounced his Prussian citizenship, and he was actually stateless for the rest of his life. Very important part of his life that I've never known. Good to know, right? So one of the interesting things about Nietzsche is that he despised the traditional idea of morality and good, right? To him, good was a matter of perspective. To him, good was a designation we provided to something after it created a positive impact in our life. So there was no ultimate truth that was good for everybody, that everybody agreed to be good. Because what he saw in his society was this idea of good being swept over, right? People were trying to force their own idea of good to everybody else around them, and he definitely didn't like him because he was a true believer in perspectivism versus truth. He never believed that there was a moral ultimate truth to everything. He'd rather always believed that good or proper morality was a value assigned by the individual based on whether something created a positive or a negative result. So there was no real ultimate truth. So he was not happy with his society's push towards good, because what he believed through his study of these Latin and Greek societies was that they were existing in such a well structured fashion because of the balance between the good and bad that was present in their societies. Because one thing he noticed in his studies was what he calls the Apollonian and Dionysian principles that played together in harmony in these Greek societies that make them so successful and brilliant in their abilities. And he saw that the forceful nature of good that his society was trying to manifest in the world and trying to eradicate this understanding of bad was the reason why his society was struggling at the time. And let me explain more on this, right? In his book Birth of a Tragedy, Nietzsche talks about his society's obsession with these Greek statues, the perfectly white, beautiful marble statues, and how we associate the Greek period with that clean-cut line and civilization and society and almost a moral good that is seen through those statues that are pearly white. But being a lover of languages, he had studied the Greek tragedies. He had studied about the raping and pillaging, the drinking and singing and dancing, the enjoyment of life, the almost bad part of the Greek society as well. And what he had understood in all of his studies was that this good side, which he calls the Apollonian side, after the god Apollo in the Greek versus the Dionysian, the bad side, after the god Dionysus from the Greek mythology as well, right? So in the Greek time, he believed that there was a proper balance between the Apollonian and the Dionysian principles. However, he saw that his society was forcing the good, the Apollonian side in the society thus creating a disbalance in power, a disbalance in harmony, because he truly believed that as humans we have this moral controlled side, but we also have this animalistic nature to ourselves. So if we are only forcing this moral good side of ourselves and repressing this negativity, repressing this animalistic characteristics, then we're gonna create a disbalance, we're gonna create a stress within our society that's gonna only show up as something negative, right? It's never gonna be something positive. So that was something that Nietzsche truly believed in, and that is exemplified in his first book, Book of Tragedy. So based on Nietzsche's life as well, we can see that throughout his life he disregarded authority in that same way, where he didn't believe that the traditional authority was the responsible one, right? He always thought that authority was something that we tend to accept. Even in his writings about slave versus master morality, he talks a lot about the difference between creating your own moral values and creating your own moral identity, pursuing the dream of your life, pursuing your true realization, pursuing the self-realization, versus the slave morality. He thinks of something where you're always following somebody else, so you can never be the leader, right? You can never be the one creating these moral values. He believes that certain people will always be only following. But our ultimate goal is to reach that point where we are the ones creating these moral values, because we understand things to be true or untrue based on the situation. And we don't just blindly follow a ultimate truth as given by a religion or a social structure or some form of hierarchy, right? Alright guys, that is it for me today. I really hope you liked the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss the future videos on Nietzsche and a lot more philosophers to come as well. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day and a great week. Namaste. Goodbye.